Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Green Team of the Legendarium. I'm Cesky, and I have with me a crew of ne'er-do-wells. I have Little Red, the hitter.
Hello.
I have Soulution, the grifter.
Hey.
I have Lammy, the mastermind for Scalzi propaganda.
I'm also the demolitions expert.
Perfect. I am the hacker, and you, dear listener, are the thief. Join us as we steal the quality of this and other books the main crew of the Legendarium is afraid to tackle, and embark with us while we talk about Starter Villain by John Scalzi. So, first off, let's just have everybody say, in a non-spoilery way, did you like Starter Villain? Was it a good Scalzi book? That's right. Keep it spoiler-free, everybody. Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
So I have very complicated feelings about this, which is weird for a John Scalzi book. I'd give it a 4, but it is in places so incredibly cynical. It's funny, but very cynical, and I have some issues with that, just as a personal taste thing.
Okay. That's
and I
fair.
liked it. I liked it better than Kaiju Preservation, I think.
Wow. That's a hot take. Lammy, how'd you feel?
This one hit very middle of the road Scalzi for me, which is still extremely good. Like, John Scalzi's writing is very much my taste in books. So I'd say probably a 4. Like, his stuff usually runs like 3.5 to 5 for me on a 5-point scale. This one hits about a 4. And unlike Red, I have taste, and Kaiju Preservation Society was better than this in many ways.
That's the take we're here for. All right, Soulution, hit us up.
So I'll go in between. I actually like Kaiju Society a little bit more, just a little bit. I felt like this one was just a little bit of a slower start. Still really fun. Still really enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it a 4. I think I gave like Kaiju a 4.5. Yeah, so I'll give this one a 4. It was a really solid book. I like his standalone works, and the story was fun with a lot of meta commentary.
Perfect. I liked it. I felt like for me it was a lower Scalzi book. I've been listening to his Dispatcher, and I really liked that. That was a lot of fun. But this one, it just I can't talk about it yet because we're trying to stay spoiler free. But there were just a few. I liked it a lot, but I still just had a little issues with it. Just didn't ring with me 100%. So I'd give it like a 3.75 to a 4. You know, Lammy.
To just like expand a little bit on Kaiju versus this, as I feel like it's fair to compare them because they are both, standalone books. They're the two most recent things that John Scalzi has published. There is comparison to be made, and comparisons will be made whether they're fair or not. The biggest thing, I think, is that I would gladly read more stuff in the Kaiju Preservation Society universe, where with this one, I don't know that I... Like, if he writes another one, I'm going to read it. But I don't know that I want that.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with you there, for sure. Because I don't know that I ever want to go back to this world. Whereas Kaiju, I did. I think that this is going to sound super weird. There's a certain tick in Kaiju Preservation Society that gets really annoying. And it's not in this book, which is why I think I like it more.
Is the funny tick I lift things?
Yes. It's not
But
unfunny, except it's kind of like
Okay, now that leads us
a
to a
little too
question
much.
here.
Okay.
Huron has asked, and this I think we can say in our non-spoiler section. He says, "Is it funny like Kaiju Preservation Society?" Now, to remind you though, Huron did not like Kaiju Preservation Society, so
I think the humor's better in this book, personally. And Lammy's already okay. Go, Lammy.
It is not funny in the same way that Kaiju Preservation Society was funny. Kaiju Preservation Society was references. Wall-to-wall, endless references.
mm-hmm.
Almost to the point of being too much, and maybe not so great on a reread. I don't know. I've only gone through it 3 times now.
Sounds like
So
it's
I'm not...
good for the first 2 rereads.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy the plot and like the world, so
Yeah.
I can sort of skate past the references that get old pretty quick. But yeah, this is the humor in this one comes from the situations and the characters rather than people making references constantly.
Although
Perfect.
there are quite a few references, but they're all like enduring references as opposed to very much
Fleeting ones.
like
Well, you got to remember Kaiju preservation was basically set because of like COVID around those times, so more of
Mhm.
a present day, if you want to say.
Mhm.
Whereas this is a lot of old school spy Bond stuff that's already lasted decades.
100%. And here's another comparison between the two books. Both start out with everything in the main character's life is just completely blown out. Just everything is terrible. And then they're giving this weird opportunity.
I
So
feel like that's a common thread in a lot of books, not necessarily just John Scalzi's. Now, that is a true fact that they're very similar in this one, but I think I could, with some time, name a couple where that's kind of the case.
This is very much in the Scalzi formula. Like
hmm
starter villain very much hit the Scalzi formula, which happens to be a formula that I enjoy, as I've said. But like
Oh,
if you know the formula, you can already plot out the big beats of the book, basically.
And
and I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining.
I just want
Sorry.
to say one thing for me is that the last two kaiju and this one, I feel like they've had a very kind of overwhelming, meta take, inside of them. And that's not a bad thing. That's, the author's choice to write that in. I just felt like it was maybe a little much for me this time. But that's what he wants to write, and I liked it still. Like, it just, does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
No, I agree. I would like, depending on whatever standalone he does next, I'm hoping it's more different, more like Red Shirts almost,
hmm
where it's about it's about the genre, but I guess this is technically about the genre as well. But it does a lot of meta commentary about the current economic state and stuff of present day.
All right, now here's the most serious question in our non-spoilery section here, you guys. Solutions ready for this. Do you prefer the US cover or the UK cover?
Oh, well, which one's the one? All right, one's obviously with the cat is the
Business
prominent in the
cat.
tuxedo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So that's
that's
Business
US.
Cat
that's
is
the US
US,
one.
and then the black and red one is the UK.
All right, well, I got this. Okay. Business Cat for the US is funnier, but the UK one fits is more appropriate because it's a riff. Doesn't it have the gun barrel kind of like Bond around
Um,
the edges?
kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
That
that is
fits.
very Bondy.
Yeah,
hmm
I'm gonna go with thematically appropriate, the UK cover.
Okay, Lammy, you're up.
I prefer the US cover because Business Cat is a delight. There is a small continuity error with Business Cat being on the cover that we can get into in the spoiler section.
Okay. Red, how do you feel?
I don't care.
You don't
Wow.
care.
I don't.
Wow.
That's but if you had to pick,
If I
You
had to pick,
Sophie's choice, you got to do it right now.
oh Jesus.
Right now.
I'll give you time to think. I prefer the UK version. I just think it's funny. It's good. Um, the US version is it's funny. I prefer the UK one.
You
It just
heard it
I like
here.
it better.
Chesky hates cats. Okay,
That's right.
Red, what
I
do you
hate my
got?
cat. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, I can understand hating your cat. That happens sometimes. I'm gonna go with the UK cover. I think
Okay.
it has that
Okay.
Bondy feel. I mean, doesn't he have a cat in his lap, like he's stroking the cat on this
I
Yeah.
throne?
I posted it in our little group chat. But yeah. All right. That was everything I had for the non-spoilery sections. This book does come out on September 19th, 2023. It's I think it was worth a read for sure.
hmm
Oh, absolutely. I killed this thing off in about 18 hours.
It does
Like
suck you in
from
quick.
the time I opened up the ebook until I finished, it was approximately 18 hours real time. That was not 18 hours of just straight reading. It was more like 17 and a half. I had to use the bathroom once.
Are you saying it's not a 10,000 page book capable of
No.
killing cats and small children?
I
Well,
mean,
you set your mind to it.
it's an ebook, so
Even better.
Scalzi writes, he never writes anything that's terribly long, and it's always just light and fluffy, and but has other things going on too that are important. And I want to say it's like 8 hours on audiobook, something like that.
It was not a long
Listening at
book. It was good.
1.75, yeah.
And he's an easy author to read. It's not like I had to take a little bit longer to delve into his prose or anything like that. Yeah, I was done. I'm a slower reader, Chesky will tell you. And I finished this within like a day, maybe a
Mhm.
day and a half, because I started at work. I read some that night, then I sped through it at work the next day and finished it as soon as I got home.
Okay. So, is there anything that you guys, anything else, any last non-spoilery words before we dive full bore into the spoilers?
If you like dolphins, this book is for you. If you don't like dolphins, this book is still probably for you.
I would say the criteria for enjoying this book are if you like any of John Scalzi, Cats, Dolphins, and Bond films. Any of those, and there's something in this book for you.
I agree.
I concur.
Yep.
Okay, that is going to be our spoilery section. So, if you have not already bought and purchased this book because it's on our feed or it's past when it's been released, you should go out and get it. It's a lot of fun. We all really enjoyed it, and we're going to go spoilers now. So, in a spoilery section, let's see. What do you guys want to talk about first? We can talk about I think we should talk about our dolphins first off.
I think we should attempt a plot synopsis between the four of us without having prepared this at all.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh,
no.
that's so bad. I want to go last.
okay,
Please let me
I
go
know
last.
how it says. Here's how we'll do it. Lammy will say a word, we'll say a sentence, give a plot, and then Red, and then Soul, and then me, and then Lammy until we finish the book. You can say as
Oh,
much
no. That's
as
a
your
terrible.
sentence
No, I
wants.
kind of
This is
like
a
this game.
terrible
This sounds
idea.
fun.
We're gonna try it,
Don't
and we'll see how good
complain.
it turns out. Lammy,
Yeah.
you're on the floor. Give us a start.
Okay, well, first I need to poll the audience here. What is the main character's name? I've already forgotten that.
Charlie.
Charlie.
Charlie,
He's got a
okay.
cool last name, though. What's the last name?
Fitzner?
Yeah,
I'll look it up.
because it's Chuck. And then Chuck Fitz or whatever.
No, he
I don't
doesn't
know.
go by Chuck. He goes by Charlie.
But
Anyway.
didn't people insult him and call him Chuck? I don't remember. I just remember that was funny. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Charlie, our protagonist, is a bit down on his luck. He is living in his family's home that he technically inherited, but also his siblings inherited, and all of his siblings want to sell the place out from under him, leaving him homeless and destitute. Oh, Cesky's about to snap on me. What's going on?
No, I think he's
moving it to Red
I
now.
think he's cutting
Okay.
you off. Now Red has to do something. Come on.
Which is, by the way, something I totally identify with because I'm living in my parents' house that I grew up in. And I bought out my sister. So he finds out that his uncle is dead. This uncle that he's never met. And then he gets a call from the lawyer. Oh, geez. How granular do we want to be?
Oh, we're skipping. Now it's Soul.
Oh, okay. All right, fine.
This is terrible. This is a terrible idea, Cesky.
It's fine. I got a good section, okay? He talks with the lawyer. Lawyer's his friend / rival because the lawyer wants to get things done. He wants things to go. So anyways, Charlie finds out his uncle's dead. The key to getting... he gets some kind of benefits of something, whether I think he gets some money, is it? I don't remember exactly
They'll
what
buy his house and give it to him.
Gotcha. They're going to buy his house, give it to him, that way he can stay and live his current living situation. The only thing Charlie has to do is chaperone and host the funeral at the local funeral parlor for his uncle and all of the crazy guests that entail give him a very weird experience. And then he meets the assistant to his dead uncle's stuff. Okay, now you go, Chesky.
All right. After he meets with the assistant, she offers him the money. His house blows up. He's taken in by his cats, who, by the way, are super secret spies. They take him to the assistant. He becomes his uncle's de facto inheritor of his super secret spy business that he can't actually do anything with, because if you try and touch anything, it'll all fall because money doesn't exist and everybody's bad. He's involved in a plot to be tricked. Okay, Red snapped us. Lammy, you're up.
He gets introduced to dolphins who are, intelligent dolphins who have been made intelligent through bioengineering, same way as the cats, who are striking for better working conditions and pay. I don't know what that means for dolphins, but apparently they do, or they don't. That wasn't really made clear in the book. But Charlie, coming from a lower class pro-labor background, he's on board with unionization, and he backs them. Absolutely. Solidarity, brother.
He also finds out that his uncle is running like this business that's basically not parking garages, but playing governments off each other. And he's apparently a trillionaire, but it's only on paper. And I love the discussion of liquidity in this book because that's a real thing.
Soul's turn.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying she's got to go faster. She didn't hit anything new there. Okay. bam, they're going to what is essentially like the Geneva Convention for criminals. Okay, they're gonna go to, I don't remember which country it is. Was it like,
I think it was Greece.
it was Greece? Okay, I almost said Italy or something. They go to Greece. He meets.
Greece is Italy. Get at me in the comments.
Yeah.
Oh
Ooh,
dear.
I feel like we're
You're
gonna
gonna have a
piss
lot
up
of
people.
angry comments.
Yeah, we don't want to piss them off. Actually, we don't care. That's fine. They get there, and Charlie meets his uncle's rival, which is a dude's name I don't remember. And now we'll go to Cesky of what happens after the attempted
His
murder.
name is Anton Dobrev, and they listen to the world's worst pitches, where a bad pitch ejects you into the water, but you still pitch it because you want that sweet, sweet money. He is framed for a murder attempt on Anton Dobrov by one of the other billion trillionaires. He goes into hiding. He arranges meetings. He basically ends up inviting the trillionaire back to his island to open up the lost secret vault full of hidden Nazi treasures and other, hidden and mysterious things.
But it's all a ruse. It's all a ploy to get all of the other evil Bond villain trillionaires who are all super broke. Well, the intent isn't dead. The intent is, I don't remember what the intent was.
Yeah, I
but
don't remember either.
Broke, basically.
One of the other guys kills everybody. But the intent was revenge. And
Tobias kills everybody because the whole ploy was, what's his face? The guy we just mentioned.
Dobrev.
And Uncle Jet want to destroy this conclave of evil.
It was a triple cross.
It was.
Yes.
And then you find out that Tobias and Till are actually still dating, and it was all
a ploy.
Yeah, as if the chemistry wasn't there.
And they were saved at the end by the unionized sea creatures.
Yes.
The fact that they spread the unionization for the whales.
That was amazing.
And then at the end, Charlie goes to live with his cats. Not the other way around. Don't you forget. His cats do not live with him. He lives with them. Hera pays the bills.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And he gets the bar that we didn't mention, but that was his goal at the beginning of the book. Because, of course,
or something like that?
Of course, we have to establish a want and then see it met through unconventional means. Screenwriting 101.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And then his cats come home and live with him. Like, they were originally gone. He didn't see him for like a year.
Yes.
Back up.
Yes. All right. Let's talk characters for a minute. Charlie, how do you guys feel about Charlie?
Charlie is, aside from being pro-union, largely not a character. He's just there to let us see what's going on and follow along with the plot.
I think this was one of my letdowns, is that for all that Charlie does, he's not really, he doesn't do anything that's unconventional that actually affects the book at large, aside from maybe talking with the dolphins a little bit. So, I mean, they could have replaced him with almost anybody and had it work. Red, you look like you have some thoughts about Charlie.
Sadly, it's just to agree with you guys. He's not really, he's a character. There are some interesting things about, like, you get some backstory and you find out that he took care of his dad while he was dying and blah, blah, blah. But he's just kind of there.
He's reactionary. There's nothing about him that's unique except like his circumstances is meant to relate to like the everyday person or people that are going through some tough times. And I don't know, he doesn't have the voice, that he doesn't draw you in. It was tough getting into this novel because it doesn't really hit anything and get really interesting for the first, like, was it at least 10-15% of the book. And then once you start meeting the interesting characters and plots, that's when it starts getting good.
I mean, I'm glad he gets to own Cheers at the end of the story.
All right, then who is your favorite character? Soulution.
I think Hera, right? That's her name?
That's
the cat?
The cat, yep.
Yeah. Who should, like Lammy mentioned, continuity error in the cover versus the artist's design. Hera is a tabby, like one of the orange ones?
Orange and white cat.
Yes, orange and white cats. So, yeah, she's cute. Actually cared about Charlie, showed up and saved him multiple times. And just, for a creature that has a brain the size of a walnut, she's got stuff going on. She knows what she's doing. She's a good character.
I would like to go back to Charlie for just a second because he is clearly brave. Like, he takes real physical risks.
Oh yeah, no, he steps up at the funeral when one when I think
Tobias,
Tobias, tries to stab what we
His uncle.
believe is his uncle's corpse. I have no idea if there was an actual body there,
Yeah.
if it was a double. I don't know. It could have gone either way. It wasn't mentioned. It's not really important.
Yeah. All right, Brad, who's your favorite character?
I'm gonna have to say Hera too. I hate to be like super agreeing.
Fine.
So
I'll
by
switch
Hera
to
2, you mean
Antoine then.
Artemis?
Yeah.
No, I mean Hera also. And actually, Artemis would not be Hera too. Artemis is related to Diane. Nah.
I don't know my Greek mythology enough to refute you,
Well, they're
so you
all
keep
right.
going.
they're clones
What
of an
do you-
original, so
What do you like about Hera?
She like everything that Soul said.
Her diversified portfolio,
That's
good money
pretty
making,
awesome,
her
Yep,
too.
good
smart.
money management.
Very smart.
Hera is competent in all the ways that Charlie is not.
Exactly.
The caretaker of the family.
All right. Lammy, who's your favorite?
I got to go with whichever dolphin was the spokesman, whose name I don't think I'm allowed
Oh.
to say.
Are you
On
talking
here?
about 73, aka Who Gives a Crap?
I thought it was a little more
It's more explicit than that. but
R-rated
yes.
than that, but yeah.
Yeah,
Just all of the dolphin interactions were amazing.
Dolphins were funny. I liked his assistant Morrison. I think, not to say I didn't like any of the ones you guys picked, but she was just coolly competent. And he's like, why can't we have like a big lava waterfall? And she's like, well, it's just not practical. And what happens if this? And what about that? And he's like, okay, fine, like you're right. Or like this would have been so much more satisfying if I'd slammed a big screen. If my screen was bigger. And she's like, well, then it would have crushed you. And he's like, that's not what I meant. But she's like, well, but it's true. And, it's what you get. And
Can we melt people in the lava? It's like, yes, sort of. That lava's really viscous and people don't really like go into it. They just sort of float on top because it's much thicker than
then you
anything in the human body. And then they just sort of catch fire and it smells bad.
Yeah, I
They're
loved
crispy.
her
They get crispy.
like cool competence and just like her nonchalantness about everything. It was like, yeah, we could do that, but this is the way we do it because it makes more sense and it's the right way to do it. And he's like, but these are all my cool tropes that I want to do. And she's just like, nope, we're gonna sail off without them.
Well,
All
in
right.
that scene where they're interrogating the CIA agent, and he's like, I get to pick my death. And they go through. Well, I mean, sharks really don't want to eat people. They usually just bite you and swim off, and then we have to liquefy you in a barrel anyway.
It was very fun. Okay, so what did you guys have anything you want to talk about? Lammy, hit me up.
I very much have something I want to talk about, which is I would like to teach all of you about orange cats.
Ooh.
Okay,
They got
I'm
no
up
brain
for it.
cells, right?
So first off, the orange fur gene is sex-linked in cats. So the vast majority of orange cats that you will ever see are going to be male. Female orange cats are possible. They're just rare. I have a female orange cat. She's an idiot. Which leads me to my next point. Orange cats are real dumb. Just sort of across the board. There is a bit of a meme about them of all orange cats share one brain cell. There's a single orange cat brain cell that just goes around the world, occasionally settling on a single orange cat at a time. Not for long, ever. So the idea that any amount of genetic engineering can turn an orange cat into a being smarter than a human is outright ridiculous. I refuse to accept it. John Scalzi, you have written a bad book that I really liked.
That's
gonna
fair
say,
criticism.
They're not orange cats.
Very
They're
fair
orange and
criticism by
white.
Lammy. Yeah.
I think
Yes.
I've heard this joke before in reference to men, though.
Most
That
orange
is
cats
still
have
fair.
some
Brain
white to
cell.
them. That's not relevant.
Okay.
All right,
I mean, I own black cats, so what can I
Brad,
say?
did you have something you wanted to talk about?
I am flummoxed by the end of this book because they have this money-making business. Granted, they can't spend all the money because
Well,
they'll
they spend $1 and then it pulls it from somewhere else that it can't, and it just you spend $1, it's
Right.
all gone. Yeah.
Right. But they have this business where, first of all, they have this sweet setup and on this island. And basically all of their projects that they're doing, somebody else is paying for. So why shut it down? Like, why pinching off everybody? I'm not saying that Charlie shouldn't go somewhere else because he clearly does not belong in this world. But um, why was the goal to shut everything down? I didn't understand that. I thought it was so weird.
Well, in my estimation, it was because his uncle and Dobrev had decided that it had gotten too far, and that if anybody, like all of them, were in debt, right? And so they, except for his uncle and Dobrev, right? Everybody else was basically in debt up to their eyeballs, right?
No, I understand the part where they want to kill everybody. Like, I get that.
No. What I'm saying is that eventually they would try to use those funds, which would lead to more widespread economic collapse, which would cause, more turmoil for the world. Versus if they kind of shut it all down and they destroy it, then it's, hopefully the governments, they won't have that option anymore. The governments to say, oh, we want, this to attack our enemies. They'll have to do it the regular way instead of through secret shadow ops ways. Is kind of my thoughts.
I don't buy it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I assume this was not specifically titled retirement, but something similar, where they were just like, this is the end game of their careers, so they just wanted to kind of do this.
Yeah.
Also, listeners, there is a very, very cute cat that looks like what we would assume Hera would look like on Lanny's webcam right now.
This is my sweet baby Peanut. She is an
Nice.
orange cat.
And now, is she secretly a spy that gets on your computer to talk to her lawyer?
No, she gets on my computer all the time to just walk on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, Soulution. What did you want to bring up about this book? Hit us with it.
It was just a lot of fun. It's been a little while since I've read it, but I just really enjoyed Bond films in general and seeing those influences here and just the humor as far as the situation like unionized dolphins and like Lammy mentioned, like the way we kill people in Bond films and other stuff like that is just silly, but it's not too overdone. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's just a fun book that's not too long, poking fun and everything.
Okay. Now, is this this is not a single twist book. This is not a double cross book. Is it a triple cross book or is it a quadruple cross book?
I think after you get past a double cross, it no longer matters what kind of cross it is.
Whoa,
It's a multi-cross.
We are very obsessive people here. We have to get this figured out.
It's a quadruple.
Okay.
Once we got past the double cross stage, I was just sort of buckled in and along for the ride, and I stopped paying attention to who was trying to betray who and just assumed everybody was betraying everybody.
Yep.
I was kind of thinking that Charlie would just not be trying to betray people, and then it would work out. He would somehow, his non-betrayal they would betray each other and somehow not betray him at the same time by accident, kind of a thing, which does kind of happen. Yeah,
it did sort of work out that way, but only because his uncle and Dobrev had already worked out.
They'd already betrayed
how to make that
everything
work.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a real question: did you guys call that the container was going to be completely empty after they opened it? It was all a fake.
I wasn't trying to call anything. I was just like Lammy said, I was along for the ride, whatever.
I
was fun.
Go ahead.
You were too sucked in to really be analyzing it.
Yeah, I mean, I might have some vague notions in my idea, like, oh, this could be wrong, or this could be fake, or this could be real, but in a different way. Most of the time, I don't really care. As long as they do it well, it's fine.
Okay.
Had I read this like way slower, then maybe, I don't know. I didn't really give myself time to ponder anything. I was just like, all right, next page.
Great. All right, here let's do some favorite scenes, and I'll start and tell you guys one of my favorite scenes. It's when he is talking with I think it's Gratis. It's the trillionaire who's super in debt and kind of the instigator of the betrayals here, and he's trying to get a Zoom call meeting with him. And Gratis opens the Zoom call, and then he's muted, and Charlie's like, "Hey, you're muted. You have to unmute." And then he finally unmutes and he starts screaming. And then Charlie's like, "Oh, wait, hey, is this an encrypted line?" And he's like, "I don't fucking know." And then the laptop slams shut on him. And then he opens it back up and he's like, "Okay." And then calls him and he hangs up again because he's just not getting the message. And finally goes to his assistants with Tobias and Morrison. And they're just like, "Hey, you have to be like, he's not going to respond well to these threats. You have to just like actually calm down and talk." It's just a hilarious scene where he's like, it's that feeling you always want to do where you're like, "Hey, your mic's muted. Your mic's muted. No, the mute button, not the video. No, it's this." And then just to slam the laptop down and lock it. It was satisfying in a good way. I love that scene.
I mean, whomst amongst us has not had someone completely tech illiterate that you were forced to
do this.
just suffer through.
Yeah.
I literally had that situation like last weekend.
Yeah, sometimes when you get a book that you're reading it and you can really relate to it because of something that happened. I've had a certain scene happen in a book years ago where it described exactly what I was doing while I was reading the book. And I dropped the book. I was just laughing laughing my butt off. And it was just a great time. This is one of those where it's like we can all relate to this because especially with the like resurgence of COVID and like how we're doing meetings and Zoom and all this stuff all the time now. It's just so relatable. People. Some people
All
just don't
right,
know how to work computers.
Soulution. What's your favorite scene?
My favorite scene has got to be.
One sec, Lammy, you're muted.
Yep,
Oh,
doing a bit.
That's
Yep.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so
And
bad.
Cesky
We're
fell
not-
right
we're
for
not-
I
it.
fell
on
right
video.
for it. I am IT, so
Oh,
I
man.
have to help people with this all the time. I'm sorry. Solution. Go back to your favorite scene. I'm sorry.
It's gonna be when Charlie gets to Greece and he gets to the hotel and he finally meets the villain squad and the convention members, and he has to be intimidated by them and has a little walk with the mentor, and then he shows a little bit of his own bravery and a little bit of his own smarts. And that's, I think, the most we're really gonna get of Charlie being like the man. And yeah, it's just fun. Yeah, I like that scene.
Great. It's a good scene. Lammy, what's your favorite?
Oh, it's got to be after the big meetup in Greece when he finally gets back to his island and he's being threatened and he's like talking to the guy and he's like, "All right, so you are here as the representative of the entire group, right? You're threatening me with the whole group, right? Cool." And then he uses his super satellite missile thing that was introduced earlier in the book to blow up a completely different dude's satellite who is also in the group.
Yeah, that was a good scene. I love it. Okay, Red, what's your favorite scene?
The negotiations with the dolphins.
All right.
And so it's kind of funny and lighthearted, and that we've learned that one of the trainers had been reading the Das Kapital, which I found very funny. But when they said, we want reproductive rights, we want to be able to, because they're all on birth control.
They're all also cloned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all clones.
It's
right?
all just the same dolphin. They just gave him different numbers.
And so this also kind of reminds me of a theme that's in Uplift War, that there's this humans are uplifting the animals and then making them do stuff with their reproduction. And if you're going to make animals smart, shouldn't they have some say in that? In their reproduction, I mean. So anyway, it's kind of a more serious thing, not a funny thing, but I really enjoyed that part.
That's fair.
Also,
you're allowed to like serious things, right?
Yeah, you're allowed to bring the
where
podcast
are
down.
uterine replicators? I want those things. And
Well, the government isn't paying for those, so you're never going to get them. If we've learned anything from Scalzi's book, it's that the government secretly funds everything by accident, except for that. Okay. Let's see. I don't know. What else do you guys want to bring up about this great book that we read?
Wait, Chesky, did you not give us your favorite scene?
Yeah, what was yours?
My favorite scene is the laptop slamming screen. The
Oh,
laptop
right.
slamming
That's what it
scene,
was.
yes.
Okay.
I think it's funny that the island is Guinevere and then everything is named Jenny on the entire island.
Yes. Also, I want to point out a secondary favorite scene for me is the liftoff scene where they're giving the pitch and they're all
Pitch and pitch.
the pitch and pitch. Yeah, that's fun. It was fun because it wasn't too long.
Everyone giving pitches is apparently just like the worst possible, whatever you think of in your head when you think of frat tech bro.
Yep.
It is the worst version of that. They're all terrible. And
That's
they
true.
absolutely deserve to be launched several miles out to sea.
Mhm.
That was pretty funny.
I also want to mention the acknowledgements.
Okay.
I just love how much John loves his wife. And it's the acknowledgements were a lot of fun, and he acknowledges some of his influences and stuff. But if you follow him on Twitter, it's all about his cats and how much he loves his wife, and that's this book.
Fair. Maybe if we cover enough Scalzi books, we will get an acknowledgement. I doubt it, but you never know.
We
I
can
mean,
try.
we could
We're
have
gonna
him
end
back
up.
on the podcast.
I feel like you guys are gonna do that anyways. So
Okay.
I mean, whether there's a podcast involved or not, I'm going to keep reading the dude's books because
yeah,
he
they're just fun and
he
cool.
he very much writes in a like he writes books for me. I don't know that he intends to write books for me, but he does.
Yeah. And he has a very consistent writing style. I haven't read any really bad books from him. So
And I
now,
think, oh,
Red?
I was going to say, and I think he even says, if you like one of my books, you're probably going to like all of them. And if you don't like one of my books, you're probably not going to like any of them. Something along those lines. Like when he was on our podcast.
Yeah.
He's like, this is how I write.
In talking about his writing, do you guys enjoy it? Do you feel like is his prose good? Is his length good? I mean, what do you guys think? Just to give us a little bit more to talk about with Starter's Villain here.
I mean, okay, so his prose isn't overly poetic. You're not getting Rothfuss from this guy.
Thank
But
God.
it is extraordinarily easy to read, as evidenced by all of us finishing the book in 0 time at all. Like we all flew through this book,
Mhm.
Yeah,
which is a sign of, if not necessarily good writing, depending on what you think of as good writing, but definitely effective writing.
Effective. I like it. Now, in the question here, it says, not that question, but some people would say that if it's too simple of writing or too easy of writing, that it's not necessarily good writing. What's your take on that, Lammy, in regards to Scalzi's book?
Oh man, I've had this conversation about Sanderson about 1 billion times already. So a lot of these criticisms choose simple prose to mean bad prose and complex or poetic prose to mean good prose. That's not the thing at all. Like there is good simple prose, there is bad simple prose. There is good poetic prose, there is bad poetic prose. There's good complex writing, there's bad complex writing. John Scalzi is a good writer who uses simple prose.
I like that explanation. That's a great explanation, Lammy.
I've had so much time to practice it, Cesky.
You've distilled it down to its purest form. I like it. This, like our good friend Eridandus would say, there's good writing and there's bad writing, and there's good books and bad books. So, Soulution, what's your take?
on this,
Sure.
I would say it's competent. That's what I like. I don't need flowery prose, and there's even probably 10,000 messages in our server arguing about flowery as a negative connotation to prose being too poetic. But sometimes you're in the mood for that, sometimes you're not. I would just want to say most of the time, I'm in the mood for a Scalzi novel where I don't need complex prose. I want a fun idea, plot, characters, setting, all of that. He hits it all. And I don't need complex prose to go along with it to have a great time. And that's evidenced by all the roughly 4 stars that we give his books, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I enjoy his stuff and I will continue to keep reading his books.
I like that you called it competent writing. It's very good. I mean, it's very competent. Like, he's very skilled. He knows what he wants to write, and he writes it how he wants it to be done. So, Red, you had a little thought there?
I do. And my thought is that there is a certain attitude that by being poetic, you're being deep. Does that make sense? And that sometimes you read some of these books and I'm like, look, if I have to spend 10 minutes trying to figure out what this sentence means, you're not, as Soul said, competent. And I think that, look, I like some flowery writers, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think that there's a lot of writers that write that way because they're not actually really that good at writing. Does that make sense? You see this more in academic work than you do in literature, but you do see it in literature. And Scalzi's great. I think he's a good writer. Unlike a certain other author that I've discussed with Lammy, who's not a good writer, but I still like him. He's enjoyable.
All right.
Well, I mean, don't toy with people. Tell them that it's
Yeah,
Simon
tell
R.
us what
Green.
it
Simon R.
is, 'cause
Green.
I don't know what it is. And
Simon R. Green. It's when we get
you
to plugs.
you do that to my boy Simon? No, I never read his books. I don't know. That's fine.
He's a terrible
Horrible.
author that I love.
Oh, okay,
Same.
that's fine.
Same.
I'll trust you.
He's not good.
Kieran did have another question. How many cats?
Oh,
So,
In the book.
sure.
Oh, well,
was there 3 that get named, right?
No, because I
Maybe
think
4?
that the villains name their cats. All the
Yeah.
villains are
And there's
cats. So
Mrs.
that would
Tum
be
Tums.
12,
Yeah, but do
13.
we get the names of the villains'
Yeah, we
cats?
do. They
Oh,
introduce
We
okay.
their
do, but
cats.
let's just say there are 2 or 3 main cats and a
Yeah.
lot of cats in the periphery.
Yeah.
So it's a good cat
To
book.
fill out the cat cast.
So number of cats equal yes.
Equals yes. Perfect, Lammy. You're very good at this, making these long and difficult answers succinct and beautiful. Cats
I thi-
equals yes.
Yeah, I
I
think
love
he's
it.
exactly what Huron's looking for a lot of these answers.
Okay.
There's 14 named cats.
We'll take
Or
your word for it.
either
Okay.
Red has a photographic memory and she just went into her mind palace, or she Googled.
No, I went into my mind palace.
She went to her mind palace. Okay. Let's see. I don't really have too much else to talk about. I'm kind of tapped out here. Is there anything before we end that you guys want to talk about?
I have like a closing statement that I would like to make, but it looked like Soul had something first.
No, I'm good. Sorry.
Oh,
That's
that
my
was just a
shorthand
thumbs
with-
up, not a.
That was my shorthand with Cesky. He knows I'm
I would
out.
like
I'm
to.
I
like,
know.
I'm
I
out.
know
Okay.
Soul's all Soul's mannerisms in
Yeah.
recording.
All right. So I guess my closing statement is this is a fun play on sort of the tropes and world of Bond films that is unique amongst the various other things that I've seen do this. So like this isn't Austin Powers. This isn't wow, I've lost the name of the movies.
Kingsman?
Kingsman. There we go.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I was
This
trying to
isn't
think what else is like not Austin Powers but still a riff.
Yeah, this isn't Austin Powers. This isn't Kingsman. This isn't Bourne. Like, this is playing with Bond stuff in a way that I haven't seen before, which is great.
Yeah, perfect. Red, some final thoughts?
Just go read it. It's a lot of fun. After you read Rhythm of War, which is like a bazillion pages long, it's nice to have a nice, short, fun, punchy novel.
Yeah,
Okay.
just like Kaiju, this does work very well as a nice palate cleanser. It's quick, it's
Exactly.
short, it's fun.
Yeah.
Solution?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna agree with them. It's a great book. You should definitely go read it. I think Lemmy had a great point. It's not like Austin Powers, which is raunchy in comedy. This is just meta in comedy for Bond, and it's fun. It's a good one.
Perfect. All right. I've had lots of closing thoughts, but it's a good book. It's a fun book. If you read it, you'll most likely enjoy it. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. Now, it's time for some shameless plugs. Now, I think we're going to start this time with Red. Red, do you want to start with a shameless plug for yourself?
Oh, I have a podcast called Word Less. That's 2 words. And I've had all of you on it, I think, at one point or another, including us discussing Simon R. Green. It's with me and Era. And yeah, listen, like, subscribe.
Okay. Lammy, I know you have something to plug.
You can catch me almost every week. I've not been great about editing lately, but almost every week on the Cosmere Deep Dive podcast, where we go into the Cosmere works of Brandon Sanderson, about 50 pages at a time. We just recorded episode 250, so there is a pretty tremendous backlog, and don't feel beholden to that. Just jump to whatever book you want to actually hear about.
Okay. Perfect. Solution, do you have anything you want to plug? Do you want to plug Green Team?
Well, you're here, so everybody keep listening to Green Team. We're about to do our 200th episode very soon, and we're going to record that. So actually, that should already be out before this one is. So you missed it. All right, stick around, I guess.
Sounds great. And I'll quickly just plug that I do a 15-minute podcast about fantasy books. Most of the time, it just evolves into me gushing and like raving about how good the book was. I'm not going to apologize for it. That's who I am. If you listen, you'll probably enjoy it. But that's it. It's called Libromancy. There you go. Now, that's going to conclude our episode of Starter Villain. If you want to chat with us, you can find us on the Legendarium's Discord server. We want to thank the Legendarium for loaning us this little corner of their media empire. Thanks Horizon Brave for starting this off for us. The music is Galactic Damages by Jingle Punks. We'd like to thank them. And thank you so much for joining me today, Lammy, Red, and Soulution, and talking about this great Scalzi book. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.